Do they really have unlimited soft serve ice cream on submarines?
I would surface. So
You're supposed to be this intel I needed. I've been told it's unlimited soft serve ice cream on the subs.
we did on surface ships.
Oh, okay, well, very good. Then sign me up.
And one of my ships, we had an actual ice cream parlor.
Director Kasim Yarn, you'll be so happy. I want to go into the Navy. And today is a little different kind of episode because, well, this is a Camry, not a four-wheel drive vehicle, and while it does handle amazing in adverse weather conditions, not so much when it comes to a ranch where there are horses and muddy trails and all sorts of everything. So today's episode is actually out of the car, but it's still carpooling because that's what we do. All right, welcome into Carpooling with Ben. A little different because, to be quite honest, I would not be able to get these 6 beautiful, magnificent beasts that they have here, and 2 of them are really adorable, a little smaller, but the Dare to Dream Ranch here in Foster, Rhode Island, they provide an amazing service. Karen Dalton, you're the founder, the curator, you were taking care of the goats, so you are everything that makes this facility run. Talk to me about what you guys do here.
So as you said, thank you, first of all. Thank you for having me on today. I am the founder of Dare to Dream Ranch, and my dad was a Marine that struggled with some anger management issues, so I grew up with that and it affected my life. I went to school to become a certified health coach, and how are you different? And I thought about all the different things that have helped me, and Dare to Dream Ranch came from that. So we do equine therapy, we do woodworking, fly tying, fly fishing, resume writing. We have a botanical garden in the front yard. We have a vegetable garden in the back that we actually started giving the extra produce to the homeless trailer at the Providence VA last year.
Oh wow, that's
so
awesome.
We're expanding our garden this year to
Sure.
increase that so they have access to healthy foods. Food is actually, it can increase or decrease your anxiety and PTSD symptoms.
Sure.
So, and then exercise. So trying to get people out here and being active. Exercise is actually the #1 underutilized antidepressant, anti-anxiety treatment.
That's so interesting. And part of that exercise and being outdoors is working with these horses. You have
Yes.
6 horses here.
Yes.
So let's run down the horses. We have the names are...
We have Captain Blue, he's our paint.
Okay.
We have Colonel Jackson,
Yep.
he's our Andalusian Percheron cross.
Okay.
We have Sergeant Xander, he's a Percheron Gypsy Vanner cross.
Okay.
We have Corporal Buzz, who is a paint pony.
Okay.
And then our cute, adorable little minis over there are Freedom and Spirit.
Very nice, very nice. You work with veterans of all ages,
Yes.
of every background, not just the Marines like your dad was.
Right.
What are the age ranges that you've seen here?
So we work with family members as well. So I've worked with a 4-year-old that the
Wow.
parents were going through a divorce and he was having a difficult time. And then mom was deployed a second time and he had a challenge with that. And then I currently have another one that is 13. So another child that parents are in the middle of a divorce. And you know, when they're stuck in the middle of a bad divorce and there's a lot of anxiety and depression and issues, anger management issues
Sure.
that they're dealing with. So they come and they work with the horses. So that's the youngest clients, but as far as service members, mid-20s, all the way up to Vietnam era.
We've been in a position right now, probably different than other generations, where we are recognizing the fact that we have veterans who are in their 20s.
Right.
Some veterans with severe injuries, whether they be physical or in the battlefield of the mind, as as it's been
The
told.
invisible wounds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this kind of a facility here it's different.
Right.
There are beautiful facilities out in Washington, D.C., in Boston, and all over the place.
Right.
They're state-of-the-art, they're very clinical looking, they're very technical. This is literally a home and a ranch.
Right.
And it's okay that there's mud, because we've had so much rain. It's okay that there's, the mayflies are out, and it's okay
Right.
that, because this, I would think, this provides an atmosphere that kind of helps them relax.
It's very therapeutic. Being outside, time in nature, soaking up the vitamin D. Interacting with the horses. So most people think of horses, they think riding, getting on the horse. But for us, it's the equine therapy is on the ground. So they work on challenges for PTSD, anxiety, depression, military sexual trauma, mild traumatic brain injury, and now stroke recovery by doing exercises on the ground with the horses.
So what kind of exercises would they be doing?
Oh,
if you could describe it.
So
Yeah.
if somebody came to me and said that they were having a challenge with their significant other, and maybe it's communication, I would invite them to first look at the horses that we have, and they get to see what energy that's calling to them on a specific horse, or horses, as the miniatures are together.
Sure.
And they could work in the round pen, and I could say, well, what would good communication look like to you? I invite you to explore that with the horse.
Sure.
And they have different tools. We have cones. We have different items that they can bring into the round pen, and whatever good communication would look like to them, and I hold the space and allow them to explore that. And we check in throughout the hour-long session to say, how are things going, and I noticed when you do this, the horse does this, and what do you think that was about? And it's exploratory, therapy. So it's up to them to come up with their idea of what that is, and hopefully they take those skill sets back into that relationship. And a lot of times they figure out, it's something that they need to change themselves in order to change whatever that relationship is.
Right. That's so interesting. So, for those watching at home, it's not like, a veteran will come here and pick out a saddle in the barn and, saddle up one of these horses and just, this isn't the petting zoo where you go for pony rides.
Right.
And nothing against those great opportunities that are out there. This is something completely different where it may be just grooming the horse or being part of that communication. That's
Which
so
grooming
fascinating.
could say self-care.
Sure.
What does self-care look like?
Okay.
Or building that relationship. So they may take the grooming tools and just stand there for 30, 45 minutes grooming the horse, because to them that was their bonding time.
Sure.
And maybe the horse will walk away and then the horse will come back, or maybe they'll follow the horse, or maybe they'll mimic whatever the horse is doing to try and build that relationship. So
it's absolutely fascinating.
and eventually they may get into riding if they're here long
Sure.
enough and they keep going and they want to expand on that knowledge and skill set. They may get to the point where they say, okay, now I would like to try and figure out how to ride and keep that relationship going.
To me, it's such a holistic approach,
Right.
and it's just so different, because to the casual common person, you hear Dare to Dream Ranch, and we've seen the stories on the Today Show and all the national programs of a person going for a ride that couldn't ride and they feel the wind through their hair, which is a wonderful experience.
Absolutely.
And somebody may have that perception of, okay, Dare to Dream Ranch is just going to ride fast but it's so much deeper than that. If people want to get involved with what you're doing here, how do people get referred here? How do they connect with you?
Well, I have been working with the Air and Army National Guard for the last 4 years,
Okay.
so pre and post deployment. So that's really how a lot of my referrals have come, is because I speak and talk about what we do to before they're deployed, so the family members hear it and they hear it, and then when they come back, we've actually hosted events here on the ranch, mid-deployments, post-deployments here on the ranch, yellow ribbon events. Also, I'm task force at the VA, so there's other caregivers that have heard about us. Social media, Facebook, Instagram, all of that.
All that fun stuff.
You put something out there, and somebody, actually a client of mine had shared a post about his session here, and one of his veteran friends said, I think I need to try that.
That's awesome.
So, and then, a friend refers a friend, and or a family member that may be struggling, and I had somebody that was community service, so we're a 501c3, so I do take community service people from the United Way referrals, and somebody just texted me yesterday and said, my friend's significant other is struggling, and I sent him your way. I hope he reaches out to you, and gave me the name so that, if he does reach out, then I know who it is.
Sure. All right, we're excited.
Yes.
Look at that. Perfect. If somebody is considering this,
Yes.
what is something they need to know that they don't typically ask? What are the questions that aren't asked that really should be asked?
What do they need to know? Honestly, if they're feeling they're having a challenge and they don't want to go to traditional therapy, they want to try something different, just reach out. The number one thing is I say just come visit the ranch.
Yeah.
We'll talk about what your challenges are, what you think that you'd like to work on, and we can go from there. Say, okay, well, these are your options. It's not just the equine therapy that we have here. We have a woodworking.
Okay.
So they can, the mindfulness of focusing on taking a raw piece of wood and
Sure.
creating something beautiful from it. And even if it's just for a couple of hours, they can forget everything else and just focus on that, and then have that momentum to look at and say, you know, I created that, and keep coming back if they want to do that. Fly fishing, fly tying, again. We have a Vietnam veteran that has helped us with doing tying flies.
Wow.
So that helped him when he came back from Vietnam. And a lot of our Vietnam veterans have been through a lot and seen a lot. And some of them are struggling now because now they're in retirement age. So they force themselves back into, you know, work and taking care of their family, and now they're retiring. And some veterans are having flashbacks and
Sure.
who am I now and what's my mission and purpose? That's something that I hear often.
Well, they say the idle hands are the devil's workshop, and you know, if those flashbacks or whatever the person's demons are individually, you know, by having these different outlets here, and let's face it, a large contingent of the you know, underserved veteran population are in Providence, and a lot of times there's not a lot of space for a workshop or a wood shop, or
Right.
you know, to have these beautiful horses or the other things, the fly fishing. So to have that here and to have that camaraderie is really it's really special. So where can people go to learn more about you?
They can go to our Facebook page, which
Yeah.
is Dare to Dream Ranch.
Okay.
They can go to the Twitter page, which is Dare to Dream Ranch. They can go to our website, which is www.daretodreamranch.org.
Okay.
They can email me at KarenDaltonHealthyLiving@gmail.com.
Okay.
Or phone number 401-919-2059.
That's the thing with the buttons, right? And
Yes,
you
you
talk-
circle.
Yeah,
it's a circle thing.
That should be that could be a therapeutic service all in of itself.
Going back in time.
Absolutely. There's a lot of different ways that, you know, you have to generate funds to support what's going on here.
Yes.
Because the services you offer here, there's no charge. What is this new clothing line that I'm hearing so much about?
It's Streamline Apparel.
Okay.
So it is just a silhouette you see on the logo, the human and the horse. Most of my clients, when they're working with the horses, at some point during the session, lean their head into the horse's head.
Okay, yeah.
And I grew up with horses. I've been riding since I was 7 years old,
Okay.
and I know that connection, so that's where the logo comes from. So the Dreamline Apparel is going to have on the left-hand corner, instead of, you know, a swipe or whatever other logo from other companies would have,
Sure.
it would be just a silhouette up there. And then we have the American flag on the right shoulder, which says
wow.
Dreamline Apparel. And then on the back we have some designs that I've created. So
Awesome.
one of them is a flag that has been weathered,
Okay.
and it has a ribbon that says Dare to Dream around the flag. And the idea behind that is that we have been through a lot and we may feel beaten,
Sure.
but we still have meaning and we still have a mission and purpose. So that's where that design comes from. And we have I have a few other designs that we're working on finalizing as well. So we're hoping that will become the next multi-million-dollar company.
Wow.
And we can not only fully fund this, but offer grants to other nonprofits that are doing similar work.
That's so great. And I understand that there's a little bit of a land clearing happening behind me. So maybe the expansion, you could be part of it. That would be awesome as well.
That would be fabulous. That would be fabulous.
The majority of the clientele over at the Dare to Dream Ranch have what they call ACEs, which is adverse childhood experiences. And that can be due to emotional, sexual, or physical abuse. And that kind of a lifestyle sometimes is a product of a poverty situation. And when a person, male or female, goes into the military, they get a sense of purpose, and that's what's driven into them through basic training and throughout their career. When they get out, a person who has ACEs in the beginning can feel lost, because now what's their purpose? And that leads to just, it leads to a whole myriad of concerns, and unfortunately for a great number of servicemen and women, it they take their own life because they can't fight that battlefield of the mind. The next part of this interview is actually with a Navy veteran, Chris Rowe, who works at Dare to Dream Ranch, and he does a number of different things there, including woodworking and teaching there. But it's interesting to hear his story and where he came from and what he went through and how he got to that point where, you know, he had to advocate for himself to the point where he needed to demand action because he was very close to doing something permanent. One of the veterans that works here and has really benefited from the services here is Chris Rowe. Chris, I met you on the way in. You were getting all the American flags out there, putting them all up as you come in. I felt very official, as if I was coming into a United States facility on the way in here. But you do some stuff here, but you came to know this place not as an employee, but as somebody who was looking for some help.
Yeah, as a vet, when I retired in 2000, I got out, and after a while, I ended up going through some issues myself after I got out, and through my voc rehab with the VA, I ended up at RISD doing some schooling there for computer graphics, which was going to go along with the woodworking that I'd gotten into on my own as a form of my own therapy that became that.
Sure.
And then that kind of went away for a few years and on a back burner. And then 4 years ago, I think it was, I met Karen when she was looking for some folks to do a motorcycle fundraising ride.
Okay.
And so that's how I got hooked up with Karen and the ranch. And the struggles that I went through starting over in the civilian world, that the military just at the time, I don't know if they're that much better now, but at the time they really didn't do much to help you make that transition.
Okay.
I just decided that I wanted to get personally involved with the ranch because of my issues that I had starting over and see what I could do to help out other vets who are also struggling with starting over or whatever issues they had going on.
There's the stigma out there, no matter if it's dealing with veterans, but just in general, that it's a sign of weakness if you ask for help. And maybe true to a degree, but it's the greatest thing you can do is get help for yourself.
It is. It's you worry about what other people are going to think, and if you're just weak and whatnot, and it is tough. That's the asking for help and saying that that you need it, and saying, hey, going to someone is, that's the first hardest step. After that, it's easy.
It's almost, I mean, you were in the Navy.
Yep.
And I think in any I've never been in any branch of the military, but it almost seems like the asking for help and the last thing they teach you is to surrender. Or you don't want to. You do whatever you can to avoid that.
That's a good analogy.
And in this case, you almost have to let go and surrender before you destroy yourself.
That's right on.
Yeah.
That's right on, because I've been there. I've been to that point where I was ready to make the final decision.
Sure.
And it's there. There was a survivor instinct in me that kicked in and said, no, you know what? Then I went in and demanded. I actually had to go in and demand to get help because they were saying, okay, we can get you an appointment to see someone in 2 weeks.
Yeah, well, you need it like now.
Now. Yeah. And that's what I had to do. I had to say, no,
urgency.
you
Sure.
will get someone, and you will get someone now. I had to demand it.
And there's a lot of people, unfortunately, who don't make it to that point. Now, whenever that point was for you, fast forwarding to now, through social media, through various outreaches, it's becoming more and more quote unquote acceptable, and it's not as a negative stigma to get the help. This is a place that has helped you, and now you're here giving back. You do woodworking here, which is pretty cool. I built a birdhouse out of popsicles.
Good job.
Thank you.
Good job. You know, it doesn't matter what the project is.
Yeah.
It's just doing something creative.
Yeah.
And I actually talked to.
Do you really build birdhouses out of popsicles?
No, but I have.
Put it on the list. It could be a nice season one.
I have built lifeguard chairs out of popsicles.
All right. I don't know. All right.
Not full size. Small.
Did you
small.
blow it up afterwards like they did in MASH? That one episode with the tongue depressors?
That would have been fun.
That would
have
cool.
been fun.
Oh, we gotta
yeah,
do that.
the working with wood, the creative aspect of getting out and doing something. I actually talked to some professionals about my theory behind it, and that's that, you know, when you're in that bad place, that bad frame of mind that is destructive, you're in one side of your brain.
Yeah.
When you start doing something that is, like for me, woodworking, it's creating, it's having to be artistic, it's having to envision something that didn't exist out of a chunk of wood and go, what could that become?
Sure.
So it's the whole creative side, and it actually literally and physically puts you operating into the other side of your brain, which therefore, because you're working in the other half of your brain, you actually alter your brain chemistry. And I've actually had psychologists and psychiatrists who have told me I was spot on in my analogy of why it seemed to work.
And isn't it ironic that when you're working with woodworking, when you're doing these kind of activities, you're using very sharp objects, very dangerous objects that one may use to harm themselves or make that final decision, yet they're using the same tool to put themselves in that other side of their brain and that other side of thinking. That really comes full circle.
Yeah.
If somebody came to you, just said, geez, you know, Chris, I am down on my luck, or however they're going, and I'm paraphrasing it. Yeah. What do you say to them to kind of bridge the connection to Dare to Dream Ranch?
Usually it's just start talking military. Start, you know, because they're your brothers, they're your shipmates. You start talking about shared experiences. And then once you've established that, you know, this is some of the things that I went through. Oh, I did this, I did that. Oh, where were you at? All that kind of stuff. Then it's easy to go, well, you know what? This is what I did. This is what helped me. And I happen to volunteer and be part of this Dare to Dream Ranch organization. Come on out, check it out.
That's awesome. Chris, thank you so much for your service. Thank you for your service here and everything you're doing. It's truly making a difference. This is awesome.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Some of Chris's works can now be found at the DeBlois Gallery in Middletown, Rhode Island on Aquidneck Road. You can check that out. Actually, he'll become the artist in residence at some point in the future. All that information will obviously be shared on the Dare to Dream Ranch Facebook page and in their various things. Folks, follow them if you're so inclined. Get involved, make a donation, support the amazing work that's being done over there. Again, there's no charge to the veterans and their families when they work there, so your help is very greatly needed.